Hey friend, Roger Christopherson here again with another first listen review, and this is one that I've really been looking forward to. I am a huge Dokken fan. Don't care. I love Dokken. I've loved Dokken since I was a little kid. My style of writing has definitely been influenced by them over the years. Anybody who's listening to any of the earlier bands I was in can definitely hear that influence. Don Dokken was one of my favorite singers, ever. And I know what he sounded like recently. I've seen him live a few times. I've actually seen a few different incarnations of the band. I actually got to see them on Monsters of Rock way back in whatever year that was, 86, I think it was. I was lucky enough to meet him actually one time. My band was playing some music conference up in Rochester, New York, and I actually performed in front of Don Dokken. It's actually one of the worst performances I've ever done in my life, probably due to the fact I was freezing and I was a nervous wreck knowing that Don Dokken was out in the audience. And then one of the next days we got to meet him. He was hanging out, just talking to fans. And one of the funniest things, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this story before, but people were handing him demo tapes and stuff, and they were saying, how they wanted him to listen to them, and he was just talking to everybody really cool and saying how much he loved getting the demo tapes. And the one thing he said he hated is when people give him these big promo packs, with folders and pictures. He's like, just give me the tape. I don't care about other stuff. I just want to hear the tape. And there was a dude that was walking up to him, ready to hand him one of those big promo things, and he heard him say that, turns around, takes the tape out, kind of chucks the rest of it off to the side, and then kind of walks back and hands Don the tape. I thought it was hilarious because Don didn't see any of that, but me and a couple of the other guys in my band saw that. I just always thought that was hilarious. But anyway, so the first 4 albums from Don Dokken are some of my favorite, from those years. Still love those stuff, the songs, all that, those albums. I absolutely love them. And now, having just reviewed the more recent Lynch Mob album, did not do anything for me at all. I don't know if anybody listened to that review, but that one kind of really fell flat for me. So I had actually heard the first song off of this one, Fugitive, and I liked it. I thought that was a pretty cool song. It's got an interesting riff, but it sounded like Dokken. I mean, if you had not known, that there was a big gap in between, those earlier 4 albums and then this one, you would know that this is Dokken. That's the impression I got from it. So I really like that first song. And, obviously Don's voice is not what it used to be, so I was kind of wondering how this was going to sound. And this is what I can say about just his voice overall is he's singing on this album. There's no talking, there's no whisper vocals or anything like that. He's singing. It's definitely a lower register, but it's not like Johnny Cash low or anything like that. He's singing. Still up there a little bit in spots. It's definitely, every now and then you can hear the hoarseness. He just aged. His voice is aged. He's 7 years old. He's been singing forever. Obviously, the singing style he does, this voice is just shown the years. But he really sings on this album. So, that being said, there's not a clunker on this whole album. It's called Heaven Comes Down, in case I didn't say that, but anybody who's watching this review obviously knows that. But so Gypsy actually is the next song on here. That one's got a video for it, I guess. I have not seen that, but it doesn't matter. The song's still pretty cool. It's got that still same vibe to it. Definitely the same. They front loaded this album, so they got 2 rockers right off the bat there. It isn't me areas that you. It's actually kind of a rocker. It's more mid-tempo. It's got a little bit more of a slower groove to it, but still has that Dokken vibe. And let me tell you, the band he has on this, they've been playing with for a while. John Levin, the guitar player, has been with him for quite some time now, 20 years, I believe. And he's a killer player. I know everybody's going to compare whoever's in the band, unless it's a famous guitar player on their own, like he's had John Norum, with them, and, other people are slipping my mind right now. And, the people like that, Reb Beach, and, people like that have had their own style. Obviously, you're not going to compare them to George Lynch, but John Levin's kind of an unknown, enjoying, so people compare him. Well, he does play with that style, but he doesn't try to mimic George. I have seen him play live, so he does, George's solo is pretty close to the original. He tries to, do that. He doesn't try to add his own flavor too much, but his guitar tone is very, the rhythm tone's great. rhythm tone's great, and this lead solo playing and stuff like that is very, I don't know how to describe it other than piercing. It's like very high pitched. He does a lot of pinched harmonics, and even when he's playing just like full out, notes without all the screaming guitar, it's just very piercing. That's the only way. He plays very high up the neck when he does solo. He doesn't play a lot of lower solo stuff, but it's midway up the neck or higher pretty much every solo he does. But he shreds. He just nails it. And I like his playing. I can't compare it to George because it's not George. So I mean, he's not going to live up to that comparison anyway. I don't think he's trying to. Although the rhythm style, a lot of people forget that Don wrote a lot of these songs way back in the day. He helped write that. George has his way of playing them, obviously, and he did write a lot of the stuff, but especially earlier stuff, Don did a lot of the writing too. And he still plays well. He played guitar up until his back surgery, and he can't play anymore, but unfortunately, but he always played guitar his whole life too, and so he does have that influence, I'm sure, when it comes to the writing the stuff. But anyway, getting back to the songs here, Just Like a Rose is the first where they kind of go off and try a little bit something new, I think, and it really works. I think that the style here, it's still an upbeat song, but they're trying a little bit something new, a little bit different tones on the guitars and a little bit different rhythm style. And then it gets to the first ballad, I guess you'd call it, and this it doesn't try to sound like an old Dokken song, but the old style, but it still sounds like Don. He's got this personality in his voice. Lots of harmonies on this, in case I didn't mention that. Lots of harmonies on every song, tons of harmonies, which was great. It reminded me of earlier stuff, which is what I loved. And this album, I think, would fall right into that, especially the last couple albums, Under Lock and Key, and that era right there. And then Saving Grace is track number 6. As soon as it kicked in, I'm like, this has a cool Arabian feel to it, where the bass is playing a little bit something opposite of what the guitar is playing, and the cool harmony. I heard somebody compare it to Zeppelin, but I don't know. I didn't really get a Zeppelin vibe from it. I just kind of had an Arabian feel from it, for I don't know, a lack of a better description. And I also noticed on the last one, I'll Never Give Up, the bass playing in this, he's kind of had a really cool interwoven bass part in that, and then on Saving Grace here, just doing something really cool too. And the bass player on this is Crick McCarville, in case I forgot to mention, and BJ Zampa is also on drums, who's been with him for a little while now too. And then my favorite song on this whole disc is Over the Mountain, track 7. The riff on that is something I've really thought was the most original thing I've heard in a long time, actually. And it's still cool. It's upbeat rockin' song with a cool, catchy, don't even know how to describe it. Of course, the Ozzy song Over the Mountain popped in my head when I saw the title, but it's nothing like that at all. And sometimes song titles not the most original thing in the world here, but a few of them are not very original. But at least the riff on this is extremely original. I really dug the song. Favorite one on here by far. And this is where it starts to taper off a little bit. I Remember this kind of a ballady type thing. First, chord or two, it starts to sound like Maybe Alone Again, but then that kind of all disappears. Total different vocal style. He just kind of I don't even know how to describe it, but it's got that really cool big Dokken chorus when it kicks in, and it's a good song. Like I said, there's not a clunker on here. And then Lost in You is kind of like a mid-tempo, slower thing. And this is actually one of the better vocal performances on here. You can really hear the nuance in his voice. And he knows what he's working with. He's not trying to there's no screaming on here. There's no super high-pitched stuff, but he knows what he's working with. And he does it really well on that song. And then the left field album closer called Santa Fe. It was kind of an autobiographical song that he decided to write. Is the best vocal performance on the whole thing. It's almost a countryish. I don't know if Chris Isaak tried to do a country song without the falsetto. It's kind of like the vibe I got off of this. I don't know, but he sounds great on it. There's a little bit of rasp in there, like the right amount of rasp. It's obviously singing in his lower register still. You don't hear the hoarseness there, but maybe just a hint every now and then. But really hear the nuance in his voice. He's got the little the vibrato going on like you back in the old days. And that's one thing I always remember about Don. Like I admired his control of his voice that he had when he was, early on in his career, and he still has that when he tries. I mean, obviously live, I've seen him live. I know he's just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. He gets through, and he makes no apologies about it. Don's kind of that's the way he is. He's got that arrogance about him in his personality, but that's what keeps him alive and keeps him strong and keeps him out there doing it. Because I think anybody with thinner skin would not still be out there doing it. Because he gets beat up pretty bad for his live performances lately. But so basically, overall, I really dig this album. Obviously people like Lynch Mob and this came out right at the exact same time. They were in a band together for years. People always want them back together, so the comparisons are always going to be there. I tried very hard not to do that with this, and I didn't. The only thing I'm going to add in there is I wish George Lynch had got a better singer for his album. I think that album would have been a lot better. In fact, I would have loved to have heard like Don singing this way on that album over what he had singing on it. But it's my little added in thing there. I wish he just found a better singer on that album, but Don's still doing great on this. The musicianship is amazing. The production is great. It's very loud album. It's very punchy. It's full. It's everything. I wish the earlier Dokken albums had that punch. They don't have that because it's 80s. It's all very reverby and stuff like that. So there's not like any of that production on here. It's very full and rocking, but it still sounds like Dokken. I did not plan that. That's just the way that turned out. But anyway, this went on quite a while, but I really, really like this album. You should check it out if you're a Dokken fan. I think you're going to like this. Don't expect the screaming, but expect the cool Dokken sounding songs. And it's still Don singing. It sounds like Don singing. Just sounds like Don singing like lower stuff like he did back when he sang lower stuff in his earlier years. So anyway, enough of the babbling. If anybody's heard this, feel free to share what you think about it and what you think of Don's more recent stuff, or whatever you want to share, Dokken story. Feel free. I'd love to hear about it. That's what this is all about, keeping the music alive. I always say that. So make sure you like, share, subscribe so more people can talk about this and keep this music alive. I see it growing. I see more people talking about it. It's awesome. I love this music, and I love talking about it, and I'm not going to stop. So enough of that. Talk to you guys in the next one. We'll see you.